All right, we're going to start by going over the quiz from Friday, and then we'll jump into today's lesson, which isn't a whole lot new. All right, first question from the quiz on Friday. It says you surveyed 50 people, 28 say yes. What fraction of the people say yes? So they just want us to write this as a fraction. Part over whole. 28 over 50. Do not simplify. So we just leave it as 28 over 50. Now, what percent is that? We have to make this a percent. We talked about two different ways to change these to percents. One way is a proportion. That means x over 100. That is probably the easiest on some of these, like this one, because how do I go from 50 to 100? You divided? You multiplied by 2. So we multiply by 2 on top as well. And that gives us 50 what? 56. Now, you could have divided it. You could have done 28 divided by 50. You get 0.56. And then we change that decimal to a percent by moving it 2 places to the right. So either way, you still get 56%, right? Okay. Next one, change it to a percent. So you guys do this one. You got your notebooks out, right? Come on. Go ahead and do it. Here's what I would have done. 3 over 20 equals what over 100? 20 times 5. So multiply 5 on the top. How many people got 15%? Because 15 out of 100 is 15%, right? Excellent. Okay, once again, change to a percent. 27 cents is what percent of a dollar? 27%, right? Because you move your decimal 2 places to the right to make it a percent. How do you compare fractions and percents? Right? Convert them both to decimals. 1/3 as a decimal, 1 divided by 3 is 0.3 repeating. 25% as a decimal, move the decimal 2 places to the left, it's 0.25. Then you can compare them easier. 0.3 is greater than 0.2, right? Okay. Tax. Who remembers how we do sales tax? Only a couple of you. We said part equals percent times whole. Remember that? So 3% of what? Tax is 3% of what? Of the $60, right? So that $60 is the whole. Now, we're going to multiply these. How do I multiply percents? Which would be what? Right, we got to change this percent to a decimal. Remember, move the decimal 2 places to the left. That's 0.03 because we fill in that missing spot right there with a 0. That is the most common mistake. So 0.03 times 60 equals what? What'd you get? Okay. Well, it should be 1.8. If you got 180, then you're doing 3 times 60, not 0.03. Remember, we got to change these to decimals. Otherwise, it's going to throw everything off. You cannot multiply percents. You've got to change them to decimals or fractions, but we like decimals. Now, total cost will be $61.80 because we add the tax to the total cost. All right. And then the last one says, are we looking for a part, percent, or whole? 5% of what number is 1? What are we looking for? We're looking for the whole. If it says of what number, of is our whole. Is something, that's your part. All right, so if you need to retake tests or that quiz, then we need to do that over this week sometime, next couple days, because we got another quiz on Friday this week. So let me know if that's something you're going to do. Okay, so today our lesson is the percent proportion. Now, like I said, I've already showed you how to do some of these proportions. We did some equations. I don't care which method you use to solve these. I'm going to show you what I think is the easiest for each situation. All right? Here's the way I look at it. If they give me the part and the whole, I set it up as a proportion. If they're looking for the percent, I do proportion. The other ones, I do part equals percent times whole. So, example, if they say 1/5 is what percent? 1/5 is what percent? I would set it up as a proportion. I'd say 5 times what is 100? Times 20, times 20 on top. That would be 20%, right? If they give me a percent, if they give me the percent on anything, I would use the equation. So let's say they give me 5% of, $60. We would go 0.05 times 60. Does that make sense? Now, if they give you the part, those are the tricky ones, right? Because if they give you the part and the percent, we have to divide. We'll look at some of those. So let's start off by understanding that we are going to now work with some crazy percents, and this is one of them. 3/400ths of a percent. Here's what you have to remember. Pretend percents is like this big cake, this giant cake. We cut this cake up into 100 pieces. That means each piece is 1%, right? One piece is 1%. So what if I have 3/400ths of a percent? That means we're taking a tiny little bite out of that one piece of cake. That's what we're talking about here, a minuscule amount. So if they say to make this a fraction, how in the world do I do this? How do I get rid of a percent? You move the decimal 2 places to the left, right? What does that mean we're doing, though, mathematically? If I'm moving the decimal 2 places to the left, what am I doing? Am I multiplying or dividing? What? Dividing. I'm dividing by what? Dividing by 100. So to get rid of a percent, I have to divide by 100. So that means what? How do we divide by 100? Remember that we multiply what? The reciprocal. Remember, keep, change, flip. We multiply the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 100 is 1 over 100. Now we multiply straight across. So it's 3 over 40,000. That is a tiny little bit, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, you guys try this one. What would 1/400% it is a 0. 1/400% be as a fraction? What do we get? 1/400% as a fraction. Did you multiply 1 over 100? Right? And you got what, Jordan? 1 over 40,000. Yep. All right. Let's look at some of these. We're also going to be dealing with percents greater than 100. So let me find one, and then we'll go through and we'll do some of these. Okay, so percents greater than 100. First of all, you have to understand how percents work. So 100% means one whole, correct? If I have more than 100%, then that means I have what? More than one whole, right? Or something increased. In this case, something is increasing because we start at 100%. And when it grows, they're counting that as greater than 100%. So we planted this and we started at 12 centimeters tall. After 2 weeks, it was 120% as tall as when it was first planted. So this is 120% of what? We have to be able to look at these and decipher what goes where. 120% of what? 120% of 12, right? Because 120% as tall as when it was first planted. And it was 12 centimeters when it was first planted. Now we solve. 120% as a decimal is what? Somebody know? What? 1.20, sorry. 1.20. Remember, we moved the decimal 2 places to the left. 1.2 of means times 12. So if you have something greater than 100%, that means it's going to be more than the 12, right? So what's 1.2 times 12? 14.4. That's how tall the plant is now. Only only for money. Okay. How about this one? It says the number of students in the marching band this year is 125% as many as last year. There were 36 in the band last year. So how many students are in the marching band this year? So are we doing 125% of what? 36? Because it says 125% of last year, right? And this 36 is last year's number, right? So it is 125% of 36. Everybody go ahead and work that out. What'd you get? What'd you get? 45. Because we have to change this percent to a decimal. That's 1.25 times 36. Remember, 100% would be 36, right? So 125% would just be slightly more. 45 seems reasonable. Okay, try this one. You just change it into a fraction. Oh, I hadn't been recording that whole time. All right, let's try this one. So we are looking for 56% of the cars sold that day. So 56% of what? 56% of the cars sold that day. Do we know how many cars were sold that day? So we're looking for the whole. 14 is equals to 56% of that. So we're going to go 14. Inverse operation of multiplication. So we're going to divide by what? 0.56. We cannot multiply or divide percents. We have to change it to a decimal. So 14 divided by 0.56 is, what'd you get? That means we have 25 cars sold that day. 14 of them were compact. So depending on the part, the whole, or the percent, we're still solving them the same way. Just don't have nice percent.